All right, so um, this book, which I've been using to do a couple of videos on epistemology, and I was recently asked to do a video on the defeasibility theory of knowledge, and I've read a lot of different things, like people like William Alston and lots of other articles on this. But I'm going to be using an article in here by Thomas Grunman to kind of guide this video on this kind of guide this video on the defeasibility theory of knowledge. So, defeasibility, I just want to clarify. Defeasibility and fallibility are two different things. Quine in the 60s or 50s, I forget where, says that fallibility is ubiquitous, which meaning it's everywhere. Quine in his works on epistemology and philosophy of science is saying that we cannot put any of our epistemology on a solid foundation because fallibility is ubiquitous. So, first with defeasibility, you have the concept of a defeater. Defeaters are themselves defeasible. Defeaters affect the epistemic status of a belief. A defeater, let's say we have a defeater, can often be looked at as counter evidence or a counter evidence in that is in conflict with a certain belief. Defeaters have to do with error correction. If you come upon a belief with which you are ready to, which you have what you need to make to confer justification of it, then you come upon further evidence, which is a defeater of that belief, which can do some certain things. Defeaters are counter evidence which affect the epistemic status of beliefs as to whether they're justified, unjustified, or neutral. They are local removers of irrationality. The target of a defeater is its warrant, and a warrant is not the same as a warrant is not the same as a belief or a justification. A warrant is, according to Grunman, is what turns a true belief into knowledge. Warrants are defeasible by factive, external, and propositional factors. And the defeasibility theory of knowledge is designed to solve. It was in the beginning designed to solve the Gettier problem. If you recall, I do have videos on the Gettier problem. Sorry, I gotta find text. Sorry. If you recall, the Gettier problem was he gave all these cases as to why, if you have justified true belief, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have knowledge. With all the cases with Jones and Ford and Thomas Gravitt, I mean, everything like that, the feasibility theory of knowledge was meant to solve this problem by having the concept of a warrant, and how warrants can be tested, or they can be taken down by defeaters. So we have the case of Gettier, the Gettier case of Tom Gravitt. Yesterday I saw someone who looked like Tom Gravitt steal a book in the library. It was Tom Gravitt, but what if Tom Gravitt has an identical twin, indistinguishable identical twin, who was in the library at the same time? Do I know that Tom Gravitt stole the book? The defeasibility theory of knowledge says that I only have knowledge if my justification is never defeated by additional true pieces of information. So basically, if you have everything you need to make a if you have true belief, you have you have knowledge until you have additional pieces of information which can serve as defeaters, and which can retract the status of that belief as being justified. So how do defeaters work? To defeat a justified belief, there's three ways. One, the justification of a belief can be neutralized, where we have a rebutting defeater. Number two, the justification of a belief can be removed when there is an undercutting defeater against a justification, against its justificatory power. Three, the justification of a belief can be overridden when there is a reason defeating defeater against the truth of the reason for the belief, there where the defeating is a reason for a belief. Defeaters are mental states, justified or entitled. They are counter evidence. And we have two kinds of defeaters. We have doxastic defeaters, where if S, in light of reliable evidence, ought to acquire or get the beliefs, where we have kind of deontic norms. S ought to do something. Normative defeaters, a reason S has for adopting a belief that speaks against his belief that P, or justified, where we have words that are used like justified, good, bad, irrational, rational. And normally, defeasibility theory of knowledge is used by people who are internalists. And like I said before, an internalist is somebody who thinks that the justification of a belief is by a mental state, mentalism, or by cognitive acts, or that we have cognitive access to the justification of those beliefs, accessibilism. Internalism and defeasibility are pretty much the same, are pretty much a good thing. They go well together. As defeaters are mental states that can serve as counter evidence. Reliabilism / externalism is not as good of a match. There have been a couple things that have been kind of like that, but doesn't nearly work as well. Indefeasibility and infallibility. Question: no, defeasibility and infallibility are not the same thing. Are there indefeasible beliefs? Like we have the thing, all Fs are Fs. All Fs are F. All bachelors are bachelors. Is that a indefeasible belief? If one could say that the belief all Fs are F is a existence claim, which it is not, then you could have the belief that you could think that's a indefeasible belief. But those beliefs are defeasible. Thus, they have the possibility of being defeated. What about introspective beliefs or a priori beliefs? Are those things indefeasible? No, they are by themselves defeasible. So there's been a lot of things that Grundman has put out in this article that is in this awesome book, which hopefully I can get a couple things out of this, or two to a couple more videos out of this book. But Grundman has just like a really nice overview of it, and I hope to do some videos of it in the future. People like Alston and others also. That's kind of what it is. The defeasibility theory of knowledge says that a warrant takes true belief. A warrant takes justify true belief to knowledge. And it says that if you have what you need to confer justification, then you have justification until additional pieces of knowledge come along which can defeat it as counter evidence. So that's the basic idea. There are very many variations on this also. Um, if you think I left something out or did something wrong, let me know. Comment below. Thank you.